G'day people, welcome to Perth WAtch, your horology channel right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have another Spinnaker. This is their latest piece. Their boxes have, become this, I guess, faux fabric thing. And, I lament that it doesn't spin as well. It's probably only a 3 out of 5, whereas they used to be a lot better. They're kind of smaller, cheaper boxes. Instruction manual for this watch, which most of you don't really need to look at because it's a simple three-hander day date and you don't need to look that up. A bit of links in there, and that's really the box manual card or warranty card space with the manual space as well on the side. Okay. So guys, this is the Spinnaker Haas Automatic. I really don't have a lot of interest in the backstory of this because usually they slap something on. It has, mostly nothing to do with the design of the watch, but have a look at the website if you want to know more about it. The model number for this one is SP-5099, and this colorway, which is what they call the Azure Blue, is -44. Now this comes in, of course, black. In fact, two different variations of black. There is a yellow, which I actually wanted, but they ran out of reviewer stock and I couldn't get it. And I think there is also a green. Have a look at the website for details and the exact mismatches of the colors, if you will. Now the launch price, or at least the MSRP, will be 445 USD. This will be launching soon. I do not know whether they will have an immediate discount, but if you're new to Spinnaker, I think if you just sign up to their newsletter, they'll give you 20% off. So this will take it to about 360. So perhaps that's the more reasonable discussion price for this watch. Now, quickly moving through the movement here. This is the Seiko NH16. Now, they seem to be moving towards these, or a lot of brands seems to be moving towards the NH1X style movements. I suspect these are cheaper, but anyway, check out the specs on the left there. It's certainly less jewels than the NH30 range of movements. The hour reserve, I think, is the same, but let me know if you can confirm for sure. Rated accuracy, a little bit unknown, but I'm going to assume they're the same as the NH30 ranges. This one is within that range, plus 15 seconds per day in the 5 days non-stop I've been running this. Of course, it does have the quick set day date, and in this case, good on them for making color match date and day wheels there in the 3 o'clock position, and it's nicely windowed as well. I have to say, they've done a fairly good job there. Right, moving on to the case here. Not going to read it out, just let you, look at the specs at the bottom of the screen here. Okay, so these are the dimensions. Right, that's the thickness, and you can see the lug-to-lug width between my thumbs there. Overall weight, pretty substantial, right? This is a heavy watch. With the 4 links I removed, it still weighs 173 grams on the wrist. You're not going to forget that, or at least I don't, at that type of weight. Moving on to finishing here. So there is brushing on the bezel there, right, as well as the top, right? Long brush on the top. Vertical brushing on the sides, that's a bit different. They usually go for horizontal. This is actually vertical brushing. And then it's got circular brushing on the bottom there. And you can see the laser etching on that case back there with some details as Spinnaker usually put on their case backs. It's got the polished top bevel. So hopefully I can show you this, right? There's a top bevel on the lug here, which is polished. So there's a bit of differential finishing here. I have to say this is not the finest Dartmouth brand case I've seen, from Spinnaker. They usually do very good casework. This has dropped the standard a little bit. You can see it's a solid screw down case back, and it's got a screw down sign crown and overall water rating, in a Spinnaker, usually between 200 and 300. This one is actually the full 300 meter water resistance, so a fairly full-blooded diver here. Now, moving on to the dial now. So what we have here is a satin blue dial. It is actually a satin finish. It's got fully printed details, almost all printed details in terms of the numberings. All right, so I'm talking about the Spinnaker, I'm talking about the 24-hour track just inside the indices, as well as automatic and the water resistant rating down the bottom half of the dial now. Right, it's got a printed chapter ring on the flange, but I like it how they've done a white colored flange, and that flange actually has insets there. So there's a step on the dial to the periphery and then applied or stamped indices. I'm not really sure, but look, it looks like applied indices which have, kind of insetted into the flange. So nice details there on the dial. That's really appreciated. The hands are paddle style hands. I want to call them paddle style hands. It's got a minute and second hand with orange outlines, which, a nice splash of color, always appreciated in dive style watches. And it's got lume in all the usual spots, including 12 spots around the bezel. Lume shot right here, of course, to let you guys see how it glows in the dark. Right, surrounding that dial is 120 click unidirectional dive style bezel with brushed and etched steel bezel, right? They call it the steel bezel, and it really is not badly done at all, actually. This blue PVD, and it's got dual register, right? So it's got a count upwards. So hopefully you can appreciate that. There's a count down as well as a count up, right? In terms of the register on that bezel there. Let's spin it to see how it sounds. 5 clicks. 10 clicks, right? So 120 click unidirectional bezel, and it's pretty good, right? Minimal black pay, and it feels fairly nice, very easy to turn, no stiffness like some other Chinese brands might have. Right, on top of the dial, it's lightly domed, right? Nicely, a very gentle domed sapphire crystal with internal anti-reflective coating. That's the description of the case. Let's move on to the bracelet. So this is mainly brush, right? It's a H-link style. It's got polished bevels right there. Hopefully you can see that bottom and top bevel of that centerpiece is polished, but otherwise this is mainly brush, including the sides as well is fully brushed there. It does have solid end links, of course, and it's got push pin adjustment for the bracelet here, right? No Spinnaker has ever given me screw links, right? This is the usual push pins, and they are split pins as well. So 22 millimeter lug width at the case there. It does taper to 18 millimeters. The pressed metal clasp here is 20 millimeters wide. And yes, unfortunately, it is just pressed metal with a push button release. And it is actually, rather low cost looking, including this pressed metal dive extension. It does have 3-point micro adjusts that you can see there. Okay, so that's the entire description of the watch. Let's snap it on the wrist for a wrist shot for you guys now. So there we have it. So it is large, it's 43 millimeters, it is 50 millimeters lug to lug width, and it is also quite thick. And there we have it. So it is a chunky diver. Yes, it kind of just gets away with it on my wrist, but there's no question it is a chunky sports utility style watch, not one for more formal situations, I don't think. Okay, so there we have the entire description. So what have I enjoyed? What do I think are the strengths of this? I think there are some of the typical solid features from Spinnaker here. So you're getting a very solid, tough case. You're getting a full 300 meter water resistant diver. You're getting Sapphire. The links are solid, and the lume is pretty darn good. No problem of this watch lasting in terms of glow through the night, and that's what it's done for me. And I think it's got lots of interesting details in the dial. I like the steps. I like the inset indices into the flange. The date window, really nicely done, and also the bezel etching. The countdown and the count up indices here on the bezel. I think that's actually really quite well done. You can easily think that this could be $1,000 watch, with the quality of the laser etching on the bezel. That's the best bit of the watch, I think. What are the weaknesses? Honestly, I do think this is a little bit too chunky. Look, it's over 15 millimeters thick. That is a little bit thick, for what this needs to be. I think if they made this 14 millimeters, and there's no reason why you can't. I don't think with the thickness of the movement, as well as being able to make 14 millimeters go to 300-meter water resistant. I think that's absolutely possible, and it would make this, I reckon, much more appealing. The case finish. I don't know if you can appreciate some of the brushing there, right? It's below par. It's not as good as they used to be. The typical Spinnaker is. So that's slightly disappointing. It's below par for this brand, and the good cases that they usually put out. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe it is actually because of rising costs worldwide. Let me know if you're aware of that. And I would say the class is cheaper, right? The class is cheaper. They really need to upgrade this to something better than that. This is just Chinese factory OEM. I wish they did better than that, and I think they could. They really could, being as established as they are. And lastly, this movement, this NH16, it feels like a step back. It doesn't feel as nice when you wind and adjust the time as the NH30 range. It feels like a step back. It feels like a cost cut. I think a quick Google does show that it's slightly cheaper if you want to buy it yourself than NH35, NH36 range, for example. So with all those considerations, I don't think this will sell at the full MSRP. At 360, 350, maybe. I think it might need to be even cheaper than that, but let me know your thoughts as always. So guys, there we go. My review of this latest Spinnaker Haas Automatic. Let's flip it around now for the wrap up. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that quick fire review. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. Always look forward to the discussion from my viewers. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.